If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
The Portland Trail Blazers are off to a horrible start. They have a 5-9 record, which puts them at the 12th seed in the Western Conference, which is, not great. They just lost to the Houston Rockets by 24 points, which is what prompted this video. And these struggles have come on both ends of the court. They are 13th in offensive rating when they were 3rd last year, and they are 21st in defensive rating, which is 5 spots lower than it was last year. There was a huge roster overhaul this summer, and so far it has not worked out well. But even then, this team is better than they are currently performing. They have lost a lot of really close games, losing by 3 to the Spurs, 1 to the Sixers, 6 to the Clippers, and 4 to the Nets. It's not quite as bad as it looks on the surface level, but even if this roster was playing as well as they could be, this team would still need to make the changes that I'm about to suggest. This team, as it is currently constructed, was never going to win a championship, and they are going to need to make some changes to get there. But luckily for the Blazers, they do have a lot more assets than you might think, as well as 2 high salary expiring deals that could allow them to make some blockbuster trades and make some drastic changes. So let's look more in depth as to why the Blazers are struggling and how they could alleviate said struggles. As I said, the Blazers are 5-9, and I wanted to talk more in depth on how they got there. Probably the main reason that the Blazers are struggling so far is injuries and lack of depth, and I paired them together because one is causing the other. The Blazers are currently giving Mario Hezonja, who is shooting 33% from the field, 22 minutes a game. They're playing Kent Bazemore nearly 30 minutes a game, despite the fact that he is shooting poorly from 3, not defending as well as he's supposed to be, and taking a bunch of dumb mid-range pull-ups like he's Kobe. And they're also forced to give Scalabrine and Anthony Tolliver 16 plus minutes a game, which is not ideal from a team trying to contend. They also have no backup center besides for Scal. Zach Collins and Jusuf Nurkic should solve their center problem when they get back, but as of now it is an issue. And with the wing issue, no, Carmelo Anthony is not going to solve the problem there. If you're expecting Melo to be a team savior in 2019, you're either stuck in the past or just incredibly desperate. CJ is also shooting pretty poorly, but not so poorly that I think it's a huge deal. Granted, I think if he was shooting a little bit better, they'd probably be hovering around 500 right now. For some of the positives, before he got hurt, Zach Collins was playing really well, hitting his threes and being the versatile big man that he's supposed to be. Hassan Whiteside has played about as well as you could expect in his role. I was afraid that he might start being a diva, taking shots that he just simply isn't good enough to make, but it seems like he isn't doing that for the most part and grabbing some boards for them, so when he comes back, he should be pretty solid for them as a backup center. Damian Lillard is playing great, putting up 35 and 7, just basically doing Damian Lillard 3. Damian Lillard is playing great, putting up 35 and 7, pretty much doing Damian Lillard 3. Fucking Jesus! Strings? What the fuck is strings? Damian Lillard is playing great, putting up 35 and 7, pretty much doing Damian Lillard things. Rodney Hood's been hitting his threes. Anthony Simons has been really good as a scorer for them in his 2nd year, which can be great for this team with not only his on-the-court production, but also the potential asset and a trade that he can be. We'll touch on that more later. But back to the negatives, defense is the real issue here. I expect the offense to pick back up, especially when the depth is solved with guys coming back. People forget how important Jusuf Nurkic was to the Blazers on both ends of the court. When he got hurt last year, pretty much everyone wrote off the Blazers, and they were right to do so, albeit proven wrong. But he was averaging 15 points, 10 rebounds, and an impressive 3 assists a game for a center. Nurk is often used as a playmaker out of the post for this team, and he fills that role well, and he's just really important for them. But the defensive issue cannot just simply be solved by Zach Collins and Jusuf Nurkic coming back. They're both solid on that end, but they're not a huge difference maker. This team let Al-Farouq Aminu walk in free agency, and they traded away Mo Harkless, both of which were the starting forwards on the team, and both of which were really good defenders. Cannot hit shit on offense, but they're really good defenders. Now those two have been replaced in the starting lineup by Rodney Hood, who has not ever been employed for his defense, and either Anthony Tolliver or Mario Hezonja at the 4 spot. Hezonja just sucks at everything, and Tolliver is like 97 years old. If you put a team of Dame and CJ out there with no real defense outside of the unreliable rim protection from Hassan Whiteside, then you're going to get burned for it. And this is something that you really can't blame the Blazers for, at least for this season. You can criticize them for not doing shit in the offseason, but that doesn't really solve their problems now. Like, who else is starting at power forward for this team with the injuries? There are really no options. Well, soon it's probably going to be Melo, which is not going to be the solution. So that's a big problem. Then back to the offense, they've had the same issues that they have always had, and that is that Dame and CJ are the only ones that can really score outside of Nurkic or a Whiteside pick and roll or an occasional Rodney Hood pull-up. Now, as for some potential solutions to this problem, well, they should have signed Iman Shumpert. I realize that does not help now, but it's true. They could give Nasir Little some more minutes. He doesn't do shit for them on offense, but he is a good defender with potential to be great. I'd also work to acquire some defensive guys for some second-round picks. I'm not sure who exactly. Frank Ntilikina isn't a bad option. He plays both guard positions, so you could put him next to either Dame or CJ at times to make up for those guys' defensive lapses. They could sign Joakim Noah or Kenneth Faried. Joe might have some health things right now, but if he doesn't, he is still a very good defender. I think he proved that with the Grizzlies. Faried is not a great defensive player, but still solid, which is more than you can say for almost everyone else on this team. Another thing that would help if they were just coached better on the defensive side of the ball. Even if you have a roster of bad defenders, certain defensive schemes can help make up for that, such as a defense that swarms ball handlers to break up plays, and then you have Whiteside to protect the rim in case that falls apart. That could work. And then offensively, to solve that Dame and CJ being the only scorers issue, again, Melo is not the solution. As I said in the intro, this team has a pretty decent treasure trove of assets. They have some solid young players like Collins, Little, and Simons, as well as some other throwaway young dudes for rebuilding teams that would like to take a crack at them, like Gary Trent Jr., for example. They also have Kent Bazemore and Hassan Whiteside, who are both on 1 year, roughly $25-ish million deals. Expiring contracts with big money on them are a bigger asset than they are really given credit for. The Bulls were able to trade for Otto Porter Jr. because they had Jabari Parker's expiring contract. Like, I fully expect the Hawks to get a solid return on Chandler Parsons and Evan Turner because of that, and the Blazers, like the Hawks, have 2 of those contracts. Now pair one of those expirings and a young player or 2 with some draft assets, and you can get a hell of a package back. There is obviously Blake Griffin as an option. He is in the thumbnail, but before we get to that, if the Blazers want to play it a bit more safe than that, which I would not do, but it is an option, they could just do a Bazemore, Little, and a first-round pick deal for Danilo Gallinari. Gallo averaged damn near 20 a game last year while shooting 43% from 3 on 5.5 attempts. He is a solid scorer, great shooter, and can play both forward spots. He is still a 19-point scorer this year in OKC. He certainly isn't helping you out on defense, but he can be the third guy to Dame and CJ. Another guy whose name gets thrown around a lot is Kevin Love. I personally don't think that Kevin Love is that good, and I don't think it's a good idea. I would be hesitant on that one. I honestly think you would be better off just taking Gallo, who would cost a decent bit less, than Love, who will cost more, while not providing the value worthy of that cost in comparison. Because to get Love, you have to give up Collins, which I probably would not be comfortable doing with someone on Kevin Love's level. Basically, you'd be better off with Gallo and Collins than you would be with just Love. However, a player that I would feel comfortable trading Collins for is Blake Griffin. Blake is significantly better than Love, and I think he would be the guy that can elevate this team to contender level. Because you add a guy like Blake who can get you 25, 8, and 6 on any given night on this team, and the offense is just flat out unstoppable. A Dame and Blake pick and roll with CJ and Hood potentially open for 3, with Whiteside as a lob target from either Blake or Dame, that offense would be just nuts. And even though Blake doesn't provide much on defense, he is still an upgrade over not so Super Mario and 97-year-old Anthony Tolliver. You could theoretically pull off both of these moves and lose Whiteside in the process. Just go all offense with the lineup of Dame, CJ, Gallo, Blake, and Nurkic when he comes back. That team would just be flat out unstoppable offensively, and with the fact that Rodney Hood and Kent Bazemore are barely playing defense anyways, I say you might as well go for it. And then try to do whatever you can to get some defense on this team. Maybe at that point trade Hood for some defense. I'm not entirely sure where to go with that. Maybe Andre Iguodala would be comfortable signing there after the Grizzlies finally let him go. I'm not entirely sure what the Blazers need to do, but I do know that they need to do something. And if the Blazers have all the assets and the expirings that they currently have right now and they make no moves, they will have essentially tanked any chance of this Dame and CJ duo winning a championship. And the front office would look wildly dumb. So make a trade, Portland. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.